Well, hello there, and a long time no see. So, if you're an adjuster, you've probably gotten stumped a time or two on personal property, contents, whatever it's called at your insurance company when it comes to dealing with the homeowner claim. So, if that's ever happened to you, or if you are currently going through it, I'm here to help you out.
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad, they don't salute you. I need a
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keela Trishawn, and I make videos on lifestyle, insurance, and mental health. I also do vlogs, day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life with a toddler, all the things. So if that's something that interests you, go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back, and thank you for your support. All right, so personal property. When you have a claim, specifically with your homeowner's insurance, there is coverage for your personal items if they get damaged. The coverage can be very specific, so there are certain situations where the personal property is not covered. I'm not going to really get into that today. I'm going to be kind of coming from a standpoint of assuming that it's covered, and I'll give you a couple scenarios. But I wanted to kind of just talk about the coverage itself, what it is meant for, and then also just different things that you should do with your claim to make sure that you're staying on top of that part of the claim. So if you are interested, again, if you're an adjuster, I think this will be very helpful. But also if you're a consumer and you've had a claim and you kind of weren't sure what's going on, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. Okay, so starting out with the basics, what is personal property? What will be considered your contents? So unlike structure, where we're talking about items that are specific to the home, so your drywall, your roof, your flooring, whatever, things that are actually attached to the home, your contents are going to be items that are not attached to the home. So easy examples I can give are like, your bed, your dresser, your couches, appliances, things like that. The idea is to think about, like, if you turn the house upside down, what items will fall? Anything that will fall is considered your personal property. Okay, so now that we got that out the way, you know what we're looking at. So it's important to establish the cause of loss so you can kind of have an idea of how these items got damaged. I would say some common scenarios would be like a pipe burst. So there could have been like a pipe that burst that caused a flood in the home, and everything that was in the way of that water got damaged. Whether it just simply got wet or it got destroyed, if it's like an electronic, something like that. You also have your burglary. So if your home was burglarized and someone came in and stole items, those are going to be like your personal property. Also fires. So you had a fire in your home. Not only did it burn your actual home, like your actual structure, but it burned items that were in the path, your personal property. So I would say probably the first step really is just making sure that you have a ironclad cause of loss. So what happened to cause these contents to be damaged? Make sure that you document that in your file, just so you can kind of paint a picture when anybody looks at your file, so they know exactly what's going on. Now, I cannot lie. Personal property can be very tedious in an adjuster role, especially if you're working with the structure, like you're preparing an estimate for the damages to the home. Now the person has personal property and you literally have to evaluate everything like kind of one at a time. You're determining like how old these items are. Well, you ask the customer, how old are these items? And you kind of are looking for like a list of things so you can find a market value. Typically, we pay the customer what's called actual cash value. All that is the replacement cost value less whatever depreciation, which is based on the age and like the condition of the item. Whole other thing, if you guys want a video on like age and condition and all that stuff, I can do it, just let me know. But yeah, these are things that you're going to want to ask your customer up front. Now, most companies are going to have contents vendors. So I utilize these all the time. The only time that I'm looking at personal property on my own is if a person has like 10 items or less that were damaged. If they're claiming like 10 items or less, then I'll go on ahead and just do it myself. I'll have them prepare a list. Most insurance companies will have like a list on like their letterhead, but you can also just have them send you like a handwritten list or a typed list of, what was the item, what's the brand name, when did you purchase it, all that good stuff, just so you can do your evaluation. Me, on the other hand, if it's like a lot of items, I'm sending out a contents vendor, because the contents vendor is going to do all of that for me. They're going to prepare all of the paperwork, and they're going to even get the age and condition of all of that stuff. And then all I have to do is just apply the policy to whatever number they have, go through it obviously and make sure that everything is correct, go through it, and then I will pay the customer based off of that. So if you have access to a contents vendor, I would say the biggest thing is just to make sure that you provide them with as much information as possible. I always let the customer know The vendor's job is not to go in and determine what's damaged. You tell them what was affected, and a lot of times they're going to determine if these items are salvageable. So is it something that can be cleaned? And if it can be cleaned, then typically they'll provide you with an estimate for cleaning or restoring. And if it's something that cannot be cleaned, if it's like considered a total loss, then they'll prepare you with the list of items that aren't salvageable, and then we just pay the customer based on that. So make sure that you're involving your customer. Make sure that they are understanding that although we're going to have people come in and assist you, even if it's just you assisting them, they still have a duty to provide you with the information needed to make sure that you have an accurate settlement. Another thing to keep in mind with personal property is you want to make sure that you're capturing as much as you can in the beginning of the claim when you first talk to the customer. So I don't want you to go in thinking that people have ill intentions, like people are trying to, pad their estimate or, claim additional items that aren't affected. But in reality, in some situations, if you let it sit, people will come up with all kinds of stuff, So you want to make sure that you are setting the expectation in the very beginning and finding out what exactly is damaged, so you can either get a vendor in there or evaluate it yourself so you can keep the claim going. Also, too, sometimes if you let it sit, something that may have been salvageable might not be salvageable anymore. Biggest thing I can think of is like a water claim. So you might have a situation where something sat in water. If you get to it within a couple of days, you might be able to get it cleaned or get it restored. But if you let it sit for, more than a few days, mold grows pretty quickly. So if the item gets molded, a lot of times you're not going to be able to restore that. You're going to have to replace it. So you just essentially, you inflated the claim, by waiting. So make sure that you're getting all that information up front. Make sure that you're setting your customer up, letting them know what's covered and what's not covered, and make sure that you're going through the policy. The thing with personal property is a lot of different insurance companies have special endorsements. In some cases, you pay the customer the actual cash value, meaning the replacement cost value minus depreciation, and that's all they get. So even if you replace it, you don't get that depreciation back. Now you have some policies where there's an endorsement that says, we're going to pay you actual cash value up front, but then once you replace it, show us the receipt, and then we will reimburse you the depreciation. We'll replace up to replacement cost value. So those are things that you're going to want to just like have conversations with your customer so everybody's on the same page. And again, doing it in the beginning of the claim is going to save you and the customer a lot of heartache down the line. Okay, so another common situation with personal property is you have situations where people may have thrown something out before you had an opportunity to take a look at it, and it'll be hard to substantiate whether they actually had it or not. Or you'll have situations where, like I said before, sometimes people will say they had things that they didn't necessarily have. So I would say the way to get around that, if it's not something that you can physically inspect, or if it's not something that a vendor can physically inspect, they've already thrown it away. This is going to be really with anything on the policy. The policy states that your insurance company has to have an opportunity to inspect whatever it is you're claiming. So if we don't have that opportunity, then now the burden of proof is going to fall on the customer. So you want to ask your customer for photos. Look for the dates on those photos. I've had situations where people have said like, oh yeah, I had A, B, and C. Come to find out, they just bought A, B, and C. So I can't substantiate whether you had this Louis bag before or, so make sure that you're keeping those things in mind. Also, invoices. Now, if you're claiming a lot of, expensive property and stuff, my thing is this. I'm not judging. Like, you have some people that, their priority is to have name, brand, everything. Listen, that's your prerogative. But also, if you're spending a lot of money on items, most places are going to offer you some type of receipt. I would think that you would have a receipt for it, just in case anything happened. And then also, even if the person doesn't have that receipt, because I've had situations where somebody purchased something years ago, so they either misplaced the receipt or they just simply don't have it anymore. That makes complete sense. But if it's something that they purchase online, or if it's something that they purchase at a high-end store, or even just a regular store, a lot of times companies will keep records of these things if you just let them know kind of like the date, time, like the time frame that you purchased something. A lot of companies will have your information on file, so these are things that you can find. Another thing, Amazon. If you order on Amazon, you're able to go and look at your order history. I've looked at history from Amazon from things from like 2014, 2013, like now, so it can be done. A lot of times there's a paper trail. So if you're not able to substantiate something, make sure that you're having your customer provide you with some type of proof, just so you can document your file, because if there's ever a question, you don't want to be the one who didn't ask the proper questions. All right, you guys. So that is all that I have for you today. I know this video wasn't really structured and it may have been a little all over the place, and I did not mean for that to happen. I just wanted to kind of have a frank conversation about personal property because just like ALE, it can be a point of contention for insurance adjusters because it's not cut and dry. And sometimes adjusters don't know what to do when they're faced with situations where they can't substantiate something, or, you know, this person said they only had this damage and now they're saying they have this damage. Like, it can get real tricky. So I would say, like, my best advice is just to make sure that you stay on top of it from the very, very beginning. Let people know what you need. Like, I would even lead with letting them know, hey, I need receipts, I need photos of, you know, whatever it is, just so they can kind of be in the habit, because they do have to prove what they had if you're not able to, you know, inspect it. And I would even go so far as to have people provide me pictures, even if I can see it, or provide invoices, should I say. Because, you know, you'll have situations where someone will say, oh, this is a high-end A, B, and C, and it's really not high-end, you know, so you can kind of get the specs and like the actual manufacturer information off the invoice. So just some tips that I wanted to give you guys, because again, I want to make sure that you guys are learning information when you guys watch my channel, and I am like, damn, I haven't talked about these topics. Let me get my people these topics. So if you enjoyed this video, definitely go on ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm, and it lets me know that you guys like content like this. If you haven't already subscribed and you made it this far, please go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And with that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.
You mad, they don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your bag, it's like I never knew you leader.